Your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Tasmanian Formula 3 driver Alex PERONI is unlikely to get back behind the wheel again this year, following one of the worst crashes seen in the sport in recent times. But his manager says PERONI and his family have been overwhelmed by the messages of support from home while he recovers in an Italian hospital.
A smiling Alex PERONI giving a thumbs up from his hospital bed, a welcome sight just 48 hours after this.
That is a horrific sight.
His father PIERO was at the Monza circuit, captured here visibly distraught, with no idea at the time of the extent of the crash.
I was in the pit lane and he just disappeared from the timing boards, and didn't know what had happened. There was nothing on the TV screens.
Minutes later, he spotted the wreckage.
And I could see his car sitting on top of a tyre bundle, and you know, cars don't get up there very easily, so I knew straight away it was something. And he wasn't responding on the radio either, which made it even worse.
PERONI eventually pulled from his mangled Formula 3 car, now recovering in hospital in Italy.
He was struggling with his rear tyres that were wearing out, and he saw the sausage curb there, and he really couldn't avoid it, and so that's all he remembers. He can't remember getting out of the car.
The Tasmanian is now awaiting the results of an MRI scan on his fractured vertebrae undergone a short time ago.
If things went very well, then Alex could be heading home at the end of this week. That would be the earliest. Otherwise, we just have to wait and see.
And with the injury requiring him to wear a back brace for the next 30 days, a full recovery is still a long way off.
You'd be looking at several months of needing to rebuild that fitness. So Alex won't be racing in Sochi at the end of the month, and highly unlikely that he'd be ready to race in Macau. So we will now put our focus on next year.
The International Automobile Federation is now preparing to conduct a full investigation into the crash, with the effectiveness of the sausage curb as a safety feature on the track now in serious doubt.
The intentions are good, but I just don't think it's a good idea. You know, they should penalise drivers if they exceed track limits, rather than try and put those artificial barriers which ultimately caused what we saw.
But for now, those closest to Alex and all his supporters back in Tasmania are just grateful he's alive and soon to be home.
The support that we've received since the accident has been amazing, and those messages, keep them coming, and we pass them all on to Alex.
But somehow we're going to have to find a way to get him back into this sport after this massive accident and the costs associated with it. Given the opportunity, he would have tried to race today, I think, which is positive in one way. It means he's still keen.
Tom Cooper, 7 Tasmania News.
New CCTV footage has emerged of a man who allegedly stole a trolley full of goods from a Coles supermarket in Launceston on Saturday night. Police say staff at the Kingsmeadows store confronted the man before he threatened them with a knife. The man fled the scene without the stolen goods.
We're still trying to identify this person, and we're certainly encouraging the public to assist.
Police are urging anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. Burglaries across Tasmania have soared over the past financial year, with a Launceston construction company now part of the statistic. An offender breaking into a retirement village and driving off with thousands of dollars worth of equipment.
This is the moment a brazen thief drives off with equipment from a Youngtown construction site. The offender breaking into a locked property at the Glenara Lakes Retirement Village on Thursday night and taking $3,000 worth of tools, cement mixers and diesel heaters. The burglary not only hitting the construction company's pocket, but also delaying the project.
It'd have to add a few weeks onto the job, that's for sure.
It comes as crime in the state skyrockets to its highest level in 8 years. The number of burglaries have increased by a staggering 14% in the past financial year. Last week's burglary is not the first time the construction site has been targeted. Multiple incidents have happened over the last couple of months, forcing the company to put in security.
We had security on for over a month, every night. But yeah, we're going to have to do that again.
But the financial burden of having a security guard just isn't a long-term option.
$200 a night, it just gets, no point keep paying that if they're not catching them.
At a roofing and metal business in Invermay, multiple people can be seen roaming the yard, looking through containers and even taking materials. The company says it installed security cameras a year ago after equipment was stolen. Police are investigating both incidents. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
A rather smelly protest outside the Premier's office has landed a Bridgewater man in trouble. Police say he threatened to dump several tonnes of manure outside the state government's executive building this morning. Officers have charged the 51-year-old man with resisting police and failing to comply with a police direction. He's due to appear in court next month. Recounting of votes will begin tomorrow to determine Tasmania's new Member of Parliament. They'll fill the vacancy left by Labor MP Scott Bacon, who resigned almost 3 weeks ago. Former Labor member Madeleine Ogilvie is considered the front-runner, but is still yet to indicate whether she'll rejoin the party or sit as an independent.
We'll wait and see what the outcome of that is. As I've said all along, we can't make them count any more quickly than they currently are. It's good to be at the point where we can finally see an outcome.
The Electoral Commission says results should be known by midday Wednesday. An arson attack has destroyed a unit and damaged another in South Launceston last night. The fire started inside but quickly escalated, moving through the property and into a neighbouring unit. It took crews 20 minutes to contain.
Damage to the unit is quite significant. It won't be able to be occupied in the near future.
At least $100,000 worth of damage was caused. The unit was vacant at the time, but police aren't ruling out squatters.
There is the possibility that squatters have also been coming and going.
Police are searching for the culprit. Visitors to Mount Wellington could be using a different gateway to access the park as authorities deal with increasing visitors and traffic problems. Hobart City Council is considering moving plans for a new visitor centre from the Springs to a site lower down the mountain.
Enjoying a sprinkling of snow at this Tasmanian natural attraction, the Springs has been the planned site for a new visitor centre since last year, but a different spot is now on the table.
Potentially a better site called Hall Saddle. It hasn't got the limitations of the Springs, it's good access for vehicles, and it could provide a one-stop shop for any visitors.
The change of scene, located nearly 5 kilometres south of the Springs, is aiming to tackle parking and traffic woes.
That would be a good idea. There is a lot of traffic up the mountain and it's quite difficult at times coming up and down.
We're coming up probably every Monday and it's just so many people using it. And whether it's off the mountain or here, I think, just having a visitor centre would be a great thing.
The plan includes adding more walking tracks and facilities to meet the high tourist demand. However, the Tourism Council says the council should prioritise other issues.
Having a visitor centre is not necessarily the #1 priority for getting visitor activity onto the mountain. There's some significant infrastructure issues that the mountain's experiencing, and I think the council needs to be really careful about how far they pursue this project.
So we want to enhance the experience of visitors to the mountain. This could meet all those requirements.
The proposal will be put forward to council on Thursday. Ruby COMMANE, 7 Tasmania News.
AFL Tasmania says it's seen a slump in the amount of adult males playing footy. Their CEO also told a parliamentary inquiry today it will know in 3 weeks whether an application to field a team in the VFL from 2021 has been successful.
It's considered Tasmania's game, but football is facing challenges. While women's participation numbers are growing, it's struggling to retain male players.
There is only one age group where we've seen a decline in participation, and that is in senior males.
The organisation's CEO facing a parliamentary inquiry into the state of the sport. Statewide, she said there are 230 less male players and 3 fewer teams competing compared to last year, putting it down to societal factors.
14, you get a part-time job, and then your friends are or aren't playing, all those things come into play.
The inquiry is also hearing submissions about the push for a Tasmanian AFL team. Tourism leaders say it would be a boost for the sector.
So they base the models, their numbers on 120,000 extra room nights through having 11 games a year. So that's an enormous injection.
As the state treads a path to an AFL team, we could know by the end of the month whether the first step has been successful, a Tasmanian VFL team in 2021.
I've submitted that application to the AFL and awaiting a formal response and hope to have that within 3 weeks.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
AFL Tasmania is refusing to budge on its choice of location for the TSL Grand Final, despite the 2 northern clubs and their supporters now facing the prospect of having to travel down to Hobart to compete in the decider. With UTAS Stadium currently looking like this, many view Windsor Park as a suitable alternative to host the State League Grand Final, but not AFL Tasmania.
We do have to factor in, at this stage, we're probably looking at like 5 clubs over the 3 games, so change rooms is one thing. But it's also the amenities. The reality is Windsor Park's our only TSL venue that doesn't have a grandstand.
With Launceston a strong chance to qualify for the decider this weekend against Lauderdale, calls have been renewed to potentially change the venue from Blunston Arena. But Saunder says Northern fans need to get the idea out of their heads.
We've got to be mindful of the fact that people want to come along, sit in a comfortable seat and be able to sit under cover and keep dry. It's a 1-year issue, and next year UTAS will be back online and we'll be able to play it in the north.
After booking their spot in the biggest game of the year, North Launceston is now in the process of organising extra supporter buses for the occasion. But yesterday's dominant win over Lauderdale didn't come without a cost, with Braden Van Buren and star ruckman Alex Lee set to miss the decider due to injury. But coach Taylor Whitford is backing the group in despite the outs.
You know, we obviously had 13 or 14 people that hadn't played in a final before, a TSL final that is, so to give them that experience and that opportunity and for them to put the effort they did, you know, I've backed them in all year.
Good evening. Well, yes, here we go into year number 36. Time must fly when you're having fun. So after a weekend of nearly all forms of weather, from sun to snow and wind and rain, we had just a shower or two over the west and south today, but still quite cool. Hobart 13, Launceston 15, Burnie and Devonport 14. Low-level clouds streamed over the west, south and east as a ridge of high pressure moved over the state. Temperatures, as you can see, sat below average, -1 at Liaweenie, cooler across the east coast and only 13 on the islands. Let's have a look at the local map as we see that cloud moving over the state, mainly over the southwest and moving off the east coast later. Plenty of cloud spirals around a low over the Tasman Sea as well. Another frontal band of cloud is to our southwest, with low-level cloud moving over Victoria and the South Australian coast. Tomorrow, the high over Victoria extends a ridge over Tasmania as well as to the north. A weak low lies off Western Australia. The winds west to southwesterly at 20 to 30 knots over the south, tending west to northwesterly at similar speeds later, swells at 4.5 metres. A strong wind warning has been issued from Tasman Island to Sandy Cape. We also have a frost warning for the central north, the northeast, Midlands and east coast. Hobart, a top of 16 tomorrow and partly cloudy, 15 the high for Adventure Bay, cloudy for Tarraleah and a high of 10 degrees. 17 for Launceston after a morning frost, partly cloudy for Devonport, 15 the top, 15 also for Bridport. Burnie can expect a partly cloudy 13 degrees, just 13 and a few showers for Strawn. Bit of cloud over Marrawar and 13 as well. 16 the top for St Helens and sunny, partly cloudy for Swansea, 14 the high for Whitemark. On Wednesday, showers over the west but fine elsewhere with strengthening northwesterlies. On Thursday, a few showers mainly over the west and north, easing in the afternoon, and on Friday, showers over the west extending statewide in the afternoon. Partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow, sunny weather forecast for Adelaide, partly cloudy in Melbourne and Sydney, but sunny and warm elsewhere. Not that warm here, dropping down a little bit, currently 9 degrees in Hobart, 9 in Launceston and currently 9 degrees and clear in Devonport. So yes, Joe, started doing this in 1984 at the age of 24 and 60 kilograms. Now 35 years later and 35 kilos later, we get to this point. So happy that you've been my compliance manager and moral compass for a good part of that. I couldn't have done it without you, of course.
We'd be lost without each other, wouldn't we, really? Thank you, Murph. Look, for you at home tonight, we have put together a special tribute as we do mark Murph's 35th anniversary as Tasmania's much-loved weatherman. We hope you enjoy it. Good night.
Mainly fine for the main and mainly fine over most of Tasmania. Our top 15, it's... mate, I'm getting worse and worse as it goes along. And Devonport currently 14 degrees and Joe, good luck in the Burnie 10. Wandering out the back of a hardware store, Joe, and one of the fellas asked me if I wanted decking. Lucky I got the first punch in. Good to see Fairzy back on deck. Don't know what happened to him yesterday, but he did lose 5 kilos. He shaved his back. And wet weather for the nuptials, Joe. Lucky your wedding dress is made mostly of vinyl. We do apologise, Joe has succumbed to a very sore throat. Now to a remarkable hospital bedside interview on the day we remember the King. I can't believe we've been without Elvis Presley for 40 years now. The weather was all shook up today with lots of wind and showers statewide. Would have been better to have the weather return to sender, I reckon, and you'd have had to have been on the edge of reality to think that things would warm up with that looking like that. Now, I don't want to be cruel, but there'll be more cold weather on Saturday with showers. Time now to go back to Our Lady with the wooden heart, our devil in disguise. Joe, I've only got one thing to say to you. Oh, moody blue, tell me, am I getting through? Thank you very much.
That's the best weather ever.
I have been looking at this for the last couple of nights and I still notice one thing. The world still revolves around you.
As it should, Murph.
Rachel, I've organised some great weather for our weekend activities. Golf for me and the beach for you.
Yes, well, don't go losing your balls, Murph.
Even Pete Murphy has been doing the weather for Seven since 1984. He's loving it as well.
Good evening, Fringall. Well, again, temperatures up to 7 below average today, 11 degrees.